All right, guys. So last time we left off with different ways that cells can actually protect themselves against these different viruses. Now let's talk about animal defense. So animals have multiple defenses against invaders. They are classified into two categories: innate immunity and acquired immunity. Innate immunity is what you're born with. It's your generalized systems for to prevent from you from getting some sort of pathogen, and all animals are born with some form of innate immunity. Acquired immunity means you get it throughout your lifetime. So it's going to be based on what you are exposed to. Those that have been encountered previously, we have made up defenders for that. So, the skin is one of our first innate immunities. The skin is a barrier that does not allow us to get bacteria and stuff in. In fact, one of the easiest ways to get sick or an infection is going to be having a broken skin. So, you have your symbiotic bacteria living on your skin that helps crowd the surface so other bacteria can't get in. And then you have this thick layer of epidermis that again makes it hard for bacteria to get through. You have sweat glands that help wash blood away or wash the bacteria away. And it also changes the pH, which makes a lot of pathogens not be able to sit there, but not all of them. Some of them can go in those different pHs. The dermis then is a nice insulation area between the external and internal environment, so the the extracellular fluid can't quite get um, affected by what's happening outside, and that's filled in this. So that's just some of the ways your skin can help you. So really, in general, if you don't have to break skin, you don't want to break skin. So stuff like a pimple, everybody loves to pop a pimple, but if once you pop a pimple, you have broken the skin. So now that you have broken your first line of defense from getting an infection, now you already have an infected pore, which is what a pimple is a small infected pore. But the body has already fought off the invaders, the stuff inside the pores, with and engulfed it in the pus, which is why you get the whiteheads of a zit. All right. So another innate immunity is going to be your mucous membranes, the mouth, the anus, the vagina, the eyes, the nose. Those are going to be there. They are going to be places where the body has openings. Now, the mucous membranes are there to allow to kind of trap that stuff so it doesn't get inside that opening. So the mucous cells secrete mucus, and that's going to be really rich in glycoproteins and water. It's viscous. It contains antiseptic enzymes that will break down bacteria and viral components. So the reason why the mucus is in those areas is because the body has those openings for various reasons, for food, for air, whatever. And then the mucus helps trap any bacteria that has gotten in and then breaks it down. And then your body will rinse it away in some way, shape, or form. If it is going to be in your mouth and nose, then you tend to swallow it. So your stomach acid will digest the rest of it. If you get too sick and your body's really producing a lot of mucus to try to really protect it from that invader, then you're going to need to blow it out, which is blowing your nose. So that's one of the things that are happening there. Mammals, this mucus serves to protect in the respiratory cells, the gastrointestinal cells, the urogenital cells, the visual cells, your eyes, and your auditory system. Its major function is to protect against infections like fungi, bacteria, and viruses. The cells on average human body produce about a quart of mucus per day. And of course, that gets more thick and hard to get rid of when you're ill. So, which of the following is not example of a skin defense? Sweat glands, symbiotic bacteria, mucus, or dead skin cells? Mucus is not part of the outer layer of skin. It's in your mucous membranes, but not for your regular skin system. Um, innate immunity. If a foreign invader makes it past the skin and the mucous membranes, then the body has special cells inside it to attack. So, say I have a cut. So that first layer of innate immunity has been compromised. Then cells get inside that cut immediately. And the moment that happens, your body starts responding to it. So it starts sending blood to the area where then it goes through the inflammatory response. So start thinking about, you get a cut, it bleeds. It bleeds, so that blood is rushing to the area. So the white blood cells, the antibodies, the plasma, all that stuff gets there. The platelets, that all that stuff gets there. Then it becomes reddened. Becomes reddened because it is actually inflamed. It actually increases the heat of the area to kill any of the pathogens in the area. Swelling, and that's because it rushes a bunch of water from histamines to that area, and that water helps rinse away that area. Um, that's one of the reasons why you get a fever when you have some sort of illness, because if you increase the temperature even by a degree, you often kill off the bacteria or viruses that are inside your body, instead of letting them live. Now, a low grade fever, 100 and less, means that your body, or 101 and less, your body is really doing a good job. It's heating itself up, but it's not overdoing it. Anything over 101, you want to start treating the fever, because now the fever is getting too hot for your body. Your body didn't navigate that delicate cycle very easily. All right. So inflammation. Think of inflammation, swelling, redness, warmth. What happens here is you have the skins, it gets broken, and you have the extracellular fluid, the fluid on the outside, and it has these mast cells in there. When the bacteria enters, say you get a splinter, now the bacteria has entered, the mast cells will detect that there has been a foreign invader, and they start producing histamine. Histamine is going to increase the water of the region. That's why when you have allergies, you take an antihistamine, because what your body is doing is trying to rinse out the allergen out of your mucous membrane. So it's increasing the mast cells to that area. But then the fix is becoming more problematic than the issue. Your body's kind of overdoing it. So we take an antihistamine to say, whoa, whoa, slow your roll. We don't need you to be this crazy. All right. So that histamine causes some swelling in the blood, plasma, red blood cells, that all gets spilled into the area. And then you have your phagocytes, which are going to engulf that bacteria. But because of this increase of water from the mast cells and the swelling, we get this swelling region. And then the phagocytes will eat any of the bacteria. And then once that's all gone, it'll stop producing the inflammatory response and go back to normal. So a little bit of redness means it's doing its job. A lot of redness means that it's got a major infection and it can't stop. So you might need an antibiotic at that point in time. So which of the following best describes the response of bacteria under the surface of the skin? Mast cells produce histamine, swelling occurs, red blood cells and phagocytes enter the area, phagocytes eat foreign cells. Mast cells produce histamine, red blood cells and phagocytes enter the area, swelling occurs, phagocytes eat foreign bacteria. Histamine produces mast cells, phagocytes eat the mast cells, swelling occurs, new red blood cells enter the area. Swelling occurs, mast cells produce histamine, red blood cells and phagocytes enter, phagocytes eat foreign bacteria. All right, which one do you think is right? B. Did you say B? Because it does produce, A and B are exactly the same, except for this is foreign cells and this is foreign bacteria, and bacteria is going to be the better answer here. All right, inflammation is an example of innate immunity, acquired immunity, a response of the presence of phagocytes or buildup of fluids in mucous membranes. You say A, innate immunity? Good. Now let's talk specific immunity. Specific immunity is going to be either humoral or cell mediated. Humoral is going to be attacking the pathogens in the extracellular matrix before it gets into the cell. Cell mediated is destroying the body cells that have been infected. So maybe they've become cancerous, maybe the cells have gotten a virus. The body will then attack those cells. Both of these kinds of attack happen from different kinds of lymphocytes, the white blood cells. So a humoral response is going to be about the antibodies your body makes. So your body, the bacterial cell is going to have antigens on them. Antigens are going to be these surface receptors. And then the body recognizes those antibodies after they've been exposed to them and produce antibodies. And the antibodies will actually coat and connect to those antigens on the outside of the invader. So they're little molecular flags that stick to the antigen and mark them. And then once they're marked, once an antibody sticks to a bacteria on the antigen, it's like, oh, this is foreign. We need to get rid of it. And a white blood cell comes in and attacks it. So this bacterial cell has many surface proteins that the mammalian immune system will recognize as non-self proteins, and they will act as antigens. And then the body will make antibodies to attach to it. So when you get an antibiotic, what you are doing is taking a medicine that is increasing the amount of antibodies for that specific type of bacteria or class of bacterium to get rid of it. So the lymph system is a humoral response. It's a system of a series of vessels that filter and transport lymph, interstitial fluid that have been collected in the lymph capillaries throughout the organism. Now, when you think lymph nodes, which you usually feel here in the neck, they're there because you can see them. They're closer to the surface, so we tend to notice those. But there are lymph nodes throughout your body. You may get swelling in the groin. You may get swelling in the armpit. Some of these other ones you may not notice because they're so deep, but they are there, and this is where you would have those swellings. So if an invading microbe makes it past the innate defenses, then it will get into the interstitial fluid and enter the lymph system. And the lymph system will gather it in these lymph nodes to kill it. So antigens are introduced by pathogens, produced by mammals, serve as flags for the immune system to destroy, and another word for antibodies. Did you say A, introduced by pathogens? Good. So the pathogens that pathogens bring on the antigens. The antibodies serve as flags for the immune system to destroy, and those are what's produced by the animals. And so it's not another antigen is not another word for antibody at all. All right, lymph nodes are the oval-shaped organs of lymph system. Which of the following is not true regarding the lymph nodes? They are involved in specific immunity. They contain numerous lymphocytes. They filter blood. The swelling of the lymph node indicates infection. So which one of these is not true? Did you say C? Good. It has nothing to do with the blood. It helps get things gets invaders out before it gets into the blood system if you're hopefully. All right, another humoral response. Inside the lymph nodes of the lymph system, there are lots of leukocytes, white blood cells. They're known as B cells. There's different kinds of white blood cells, B cells and T cells and anti-killer cells. They lay dormant until they're activated by a specific antigen. So they just hang out there. They're not doing their job. And then an antigen comes in, an antibody attaches to it, and the B cells go, let's do it. Let's kill it. So here is a lymph node magnified by 100 times. The small dots are millions of B cells just hanging out ready to kill any antigen that's been marked by an antibody. The antibodies are also known as immunoglobulins. They bind to the antigen to make a pathogen highly visible to the phagocytes and restrict its movement. So now it's got these things attached. It's more clunky, so it doesn't move as well. Then a phagocyte says, oh, I see something I can eat. Yum. And it engulfs it and breaks it down. So if you get a chance, watch some of these videos that are attached to these notes. Now, another humoral response, the clonal selection. This is going to be where the humoral response to a specific pathogen is now activated. So I'm not going to watch this video with you guys, but you should totally check it out. Once a specific B cell is activated, it remains active for the rest of its life in the organism. The same invader enters, and then it knows exactly what it needs to do, and it gets tagged and destroyed. So this is why you only get chickenpox once. or in why the vaccine works against it. Because if you get chickenpox, then your B cells are activated, and so then they're ready to go. So anytime you get exposed to more chickenpox, the chickenpox virus, the body goes, "Oh, there that is, kill, done." Knows exactly what the plan of action is, no issues at all. Vaccines are great because what they're doing is they're giving your body some killed version, usually killed. Sometimes vaccines are a live version, but most of the ones we get today are a killed version of the disease. And so, because it's killed, it's not going to make you sick, but it has the antigens in there. So the antibodies get activated and know how to attach. So then these B cells get activated, and now you are going to be immune to that virus. So that is why viruses work, or why vaccines work so well for viruses. This is known as immune memory. The second exposure will be quickly handled by the immune system because many B cells and antibodies are already circulating through the body. It's like specific soldiers who know exactly how to attack this very specific enemy. That's my enemy. I know what to do. I've got this, and they kill it. A cell mediated response is going to be once it gets into the cell. So it's the last line of defense. Once the invading pathogen has infiltrated the cells of the vertebrate, the only way to get rid of it is to destroy the host cell. So, say this bacteria has now crossed the membrane of a cell and it is inside the cell and it is infected. So now what happens is the disruption activates special molecules designed to alert the nucleus that there's a problem. So there's some uh, signal proteins that will signal saying, "Oh, hey, we've got an invader. We've got a problem. We have been compromised." And now a transcription factor is going to be produced that will activate a gene that produces the membrane protein that will flag it. So now it's like, oh, we're compromised. We're gone. We're bad. And now the immune system is going to say, I see you. We're going to go ahead and get rid of you. So it sends in a dendritic cell, and the dendritic cell, or antigen presenting cell, which can be known as a helper T cell, attaches to the damaged cell, and it will activate the release of cytokinins, which are free floating proteins that communicate with other cells of the immune system and the surrounding fluids. And then the cytokinins will alert B cells to activate their humoral defense, and they'll bring cytotoxic T cells that inject hydrolytic enzymes, so it injects these enzymes, to break down the cell from the inside out. The disease cells and the invaders inside it are now eliminated. So the end result of a cell-mediated response is the T cells are destroyed. The pathogen is destroyed. The disease cell is destroyed. The disease cell and the pathogens are destroyed. Did you say D? Good. An immune memory response is created through the humoral response or the cell-mediated response. Did you say A, humoral response? Good. And we'll pick up plant immunity in the next video. So that's it. Today we talked about animal immunity, specifically the two types, the innate and then the acquired immunity. You can actually boost acquired immunity if you are a breastfeeding mom, because your breast milk will actually produce a lot of those antibodies. Well, not produce, will pass on those antibodies, and now the baby has that acquired immunity from mom, and it helps increase their ability to fight off infections. Also, if mom has gotten a cold or something, her body is going to have those defenses up, and so those defenses are going to be in the milk, and the milk changes depending on what's going on with the baby and the mom. And so then when the baby drinks the milk, it not only it actually is more protected from the illness mom has, because the mom is passing her immunity onto the baby, and now it has something protecting it from mom's cold. So a lot of times people, when they're sick, they think, oh, I shouldn't feed my baby, but really you should, because the body is trying to protect your baby. And then we talked about the different kinds of acquired immunity. the humoral and the cell mediated. So in humoral, we're trying to get rid of it before it gets into the cell. And then cell mediated, we get rid of the whole cell because it's just too late. That's bombing a whole city because it's infected by zombies. All right, guys, that's it for me today. I will talk to you later.